So welcome everyone to this fourth and final segment of ideas, sustainability related ideas that you could use as you either teach people to develop games or as you develop games yourself, right? And this final module is going to look at sustainability as a system from a systemic perspective. So what is a system? A system is a very complex interconnection of many variables such that the behavior of the system is very difficult to predict ahead of time. All right. And sustainability is a bit like that from a systemic perspective. So I found this picture online, right, which tells you how interconnected and complicated a sustainable system could be. All right. So let me, for instance, explain. So let's say you take deforestation, cutting down of trees. Okay. Is that good or is that bad? Right. Clearly, there are negative effects to deforestation. Right. You cut down trees. Trees are unable to capture carbon dioxide. They are unable to, bind the roots together, which means when it rains, there can be landslides and floods and things like that, right? We can think of a whole lot of bad things that will happen when you deforest. And, people are always worried about the Amazon forests and deforestation and things like that, okay? So, deforestation has a negative impact on the quality of water and the soil. It has a negative impact on forest cover. All right. But on the other hand, as I have mentioned earlier, there are economic and economic benefits related to deforestation. Somebody can actually sell that wood, right, for a variety of productive purposes. Somebody is shivering up in the northern hemisphere in the near the poles. There's wood that's cut that keeps them warm, right? So both of these dynamics lead to the quality of life. So deforestation decreases the quality of life in some sense because it decreases the quality of water and soil, and people living in that area don't get adequate nutrition and they get flooded and so on. But there are also people that make their money and benefit from forest products. So is deforestation good or bad? That question cannot be answered. It is both good and bad, and it has to be treated as such, right? So every intervention that people might make in a game may have positive effects, may have negative effects. And of course, you can have some kind of a mathematical formula that tells you that the positives outweigh the negatives in this case, negatives outweigh the positives in this case. But think about this as a system, because then it also becomes more challenging as to how to play the game and how to win the game. Anything that you do can have multiple effects, good and bad. And the nature of the system can also change over time, right? For instance, you do a lot of deforestation, you go above a threshold, because of which people, quality of life is so poor and people actually die. Because you have fewer number of people, the rate of deforestation will stop because you don't have that much demand for forest products, right? So over a period of time, the system might even rebalance itself and get healthier, all right? And population also starts increasing, and then you go back to the initial situation of, okay, let's now start doing more deforestation. So systems can behave in linear manners, they can behave in cyclic manners, all of this is possible, but you've got to think about sustainability, in my view, as a system, all right? A system of interconnected parts, and the more complex the system is, I think the more interesting the game will be, because people can then, use multiple levers, and, it's like chess. You don't know which move is the best move. Because there are so many possibilities out there, and you also have to think about what the other person is moving and things like this. These kinds of games could also be similar. You're not quite sure how the system will respond, and therefore it's a source of enjoyment for people who play this. To give you an example, there is a system that was developed at MIT. It's called En-ROADS. It's like a game. In fact, you guys can Google En-ROADS and this interface will come up, right? And En-ROADS says, this is the state of the world today. Okay, I've just taken the screenshot. Global temperatures are going to increase by 2 degrees and by 2100. All right, and this is what's happening with regards to our energy. Now, if you want global temperatures to not increase by that much, what can you do? There are a number of levers. I'll take a few. So the renewables, right? What are you going to do with them? Building energy efficiency. I can increase the amount of efficiency in a building by retrofitting it and things like that. I can do afforestation. I can reduce deforestation. There are a number of levers that people can pull and push. And underneath these levers are these kinds of systems drawings where they say, okay, when there is a relative attractiveness of renewables, there is more percentage of energy capacity will be built by renewables because they are more attractive, more renewables will be installed, things like this. There's a positive feedback loop, right? In other cases, there are balancing loops. So there are system diagrams or system models that underlie this game called En-ROADS, right? It's a fascinating game. You guys should play it to get a little bit of an idea, but you can keep fiddling with these, and it's not clear. The effects are not linear. If I get a certain impact by increasing electrification and a certain impact by increasing deforestation, when I increase both at the same time, I don't get double the impact, right? Because the system is interacting with each other through some complex formula that are there in the in the background. So for me to figure out what is, and I give this as a challenge in my class, right? I say you have a limited amount of money, or you have 3 things that you can do, 3 of these levers that you can push. Which 3 would you push to get the biggest ask on sustainability, and by how much? And the systemic nature of this makes it a wonderful game to play, and also makes it a great learning opportunity for people to understand how sustainability works, right? So I would suggest that you think of these sustainability as a system and try to design games around that. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this 4th module. Again, I've sort of had 4 modules. I think they went on a little bit longer than I originally had in mind. We talked about what sustainability is, how do you measure this notion of circularity, and now a systemic approach to sustainability. Hopefully, if you can think through these and train people and also apply them in the kinds of games that are developed, I think we'll have wonderful games that will be great learning experiences for anyone who plays them. All right. So all the best to you, and thank you very much.